I realized something had broken that evening when she laughed at the wrong moment. We were sitting in the kitchen between the mortgage bill and a box of cold medicine for my flu, and I asked the most ordinary thing, "What time will you be back today?" She looked up as if I'd said something inappropriate. "I don't know. Late? Work?" Then she smiled, but the smile felt chajaya, forced, unfamiliar. And I caught myself thinking, this isn't about time. This is about her not wanting to answer me. We'd been married 8 years, a two-bedroom apartment with a mortgage still stretching another 12 years ahead. We worked hard to get there, saved money, argued over neighborhoods, celebrated getting the keys, fought with contractors, made up on a mattress in an empty room. From the outside, everything looked fine. One vacation a year, shared photos, jokes about adult life. Inside, for the last few months, I'd been living in trying to save the relationship mode because I felt us drifting apart and couldn't understand why. I didn't want to become paranoid, but the thought stuck in my head like a stubborn sticker. Something feels off. At first, everything looked harmless. She just started communicating differently. Before there were memes during the day and, "How are you?" Then it turned into dry "okay" and silence. I blamed it on fatigue. She really was working more. New projects, some restructuring in her department, a boss who was constantly changing things. I supported her, cooked dinner, took on more chores, reminded her to take her vitamins. And still, I kept bumping into the same strange window. From 10 to 12 in the morning, she seemed to disappear. One day I texted at 10:17, "Can you swing by and grab my documents? They're on the table. I forgot them." Read 12:06. That evening I asked calmly, without accusation, "Why didn't you reply?" She snapped, "What? Are you tracking me?" "I just asked." She smirked like it was funny. "You're overthinking." Then, as if from a prepared script, she added, "Why can't you just trust me?" That was the first time I felt the conversation wasn't about a message anymore. She turned it on me. Shame crept up inside me, like I really had done something wrong. I said quietly, "I do trust you. It just feels strange." She sighed like I was a child. "Let's not make a problem out of this." And she went to the shower, leaving me alone in the kitchen with a half-finished cup of tea. I started thinking the problem was me. I began searching for where I was pushing too hard, where I was too clingy. Maybe I'm the problem. Work was overwhelming. I came home drained, and still I tried to be a normal husband. Listened to her day, didn't interrupt, asked about her plans. Sometimes she responded warmly, and I relaxed. Other times she looked at me like I was preventing her from breathing. We started couples therapy. At first, it even seemed to work on the surface. In sessions, she looked composed, said she needed more support, more space, less control. The therapist asked questions. I honestly said I was afraid of losing closeness. We did exercises. 5 minutes speaking without interrupting, verbalizing expectations, agreeing on boundaries. After one session, she took my hand in the hallway and said, "Thank you for trying." I almost exhaled then, because it was exactly what I wanted to hear. But at home, the faith crumbled. She started leaving on weekends for errands, getting up early and shutting the topic down with one word: personal. A couple of times I asked, "Is it urgent?" "No." "Then can we go together?" "No." That was it. Stop asking questions hung in the air so clearly that I felt like apologizing just for existing. She also started handling her phone differently. before she left it anywhere. The table, the washing machine, the couch. Now it was always near her, screen down, like a habit borrowed from someone else. I caught myself watching her hands when she typed. It felt disgusting. I hated myself for it, but I couldn't not notice. Then the little inconsistencies appeared. She'd say, "The meeting ran late." I'd ask, "When did it end?" "I don't remember." Or, "We were discussing the budget," and later details would slip out that didn't line up. Not like a detective reveal, but like a sense that the picture kept sliding away. One day in the car, she turned on music. Not ours. Not what we'd listened to together for years. It was a playlist called something like Late Nights, and in one track, someone laughed in the background, like part of a voice note. I said, "What's that playlist?" She flinched and quickly skipped the song. "Oh, it just came on randomly." Then she added louder, "Why are you nitpicking?" I stayed silent, because any sentence turned into an argument. The breaking point came at a friend's birthday. We were sitting in a group, chatting, and one guy casually told a story about how he discovered his wife's affair through strange messenger activity. Identical gaps, identical excuses. He spoke without drama, almost routinely, but at the end he said, "The worst part is when they make you feel stupid." Something went cold inside me. Am I being played? I looked at my wife. She was laughing at someone's joke, and the laugh was too free for someone who was constantly exhausted from work. On the way home, I stayed quiet. "What's wrong?" she asked. "I'm thinking about us." She snapped. "Not this again. I just, you're overthinking." At that moment, I realized that if I kept swallowing this, I'd either explode or quietly lose my mind. I didn't want to go through her phone while she slept. I didn't need ammunition for a fight. I needed solid ground. In the closet was her old laptop, untouched for a couple of years. She kept it just in case, supposedly with old photos and documents. The next Saturday, she left for errands, slammed the door, didn't even kiss me goodbye. I stood in the hallway realizing my hands were shaking from hurt, not jealousy. Then I took out the laptop, old device, new answers. I didn't know the password. I tried our wedding date. It worked. It felt strangely symbolic, like the past itself opening the door to show me the present. Sitting on the couch, I tried to convince myself to stop. If there was nothing there, I'd close it and we'd go back to therapy, to conversations, to trying. I even said out loud, "Please let me be wrong." I didn't open her email. I didn't want to invade everything. I opened the Messenger activity log, where device logins were listed, and I saw a ritual, almost every morning from 10:05 to 10:40. A login from some unknown Android 13, then log out. Around noon, she was online again from her phone. Same thing in the evenings when she was in meetings. The minutes varied slightly, but the pattern was the same. The timeline didn't lie. I scrolled further. The activity stretched back for months, and that was worse than a single date, a single spike, a single mistake, because it meant routine, habit. My chest hollowed out as my brain tried to rationalize. Work device, broken phone, assistant access. But why did these windows line up exactly with the moment she disappeared from me? I found cloud backups of chats. They were fragmented like someone had deleted pieces. One whole week missing, then suddenly 2 messages, then nothing again. And among the fragments was one line that nailed me to the spot. Tell him therapy is helping. He's relaxed. She used therapy as cover. I felt physically sick, not because I saw cheating spelled out. There were no I love yous, no photos, no direct confessions. But that sentence turned me into an object, like I was a project to be managed. I closed the laptop, sat on the floor, and stayed there until I heard keys in the lock. She came in cheerful with shopping bags like the world was smooth. "I bought your favorite chips," she said, putting them on the table. She leaned in to kiss my cheek, and I instinctively pulled away. Her face tightened instantly. "What's wrong with you?" I didn't want an interrogation. I said calmer than I felt. "I need to understand something." She immediately braced herself. "What?" "You disappear at certain times, morning and evening. I'm not accusing. I'm asking." "Oh my God, again." "I'm tired of inconsistencies. You want me to say I'm living a double life?" "I want the truth. Say it to my face." She tried to steer it back into the familiar script. "Can't you just trust me? Why are you always looking for a catch?" I said evenly, "I saw the activity on your account. Logins from another device. At the times you don't respond." She froze. For a second, the mask slipped, and I saw raw irritation. Then she snapped, "You went through my things?" "I was looking for an explanation," I said. "It means nothing. It's a work phone. Sometimes I log in from it. It's more convenient in meetings." "Then explain the message about therapy," I said, "about he's relaxed." Silence stretched. She looked at me like she was choosing which option was better, anger or tears. Then she said, "You're taking it out of context." "What context?" "You don't understand." "Then explain," I repeated. "I'm ready to listen, if it's true. If not, I'm done talking." She sat down and said quietly, almost casually, "I was talking to someone." "Who?" "From work. That's all. We were just texting." "Did you meet him?" I asked. It was the only direct question I needed. She looked away, just for a second, then sighed like I was exhausting her. That was enough. Silence is an answer. I didn't ask where, when, how many times. Not because it didn't hurt, but because I realized then details wouldn't give me back trust. I said, "Okay, I'm taking a break." "You're destroying everything now," she said. "I'm not destroying anything. I'm stopping the pretending." I packed a bag like I was underwater. A few t-shirts, jeans, charger, documents. She followed me, switching tones. "Let's talk properly. You're acting like a child. You don't have the right to just leave." "I have the right not to be a lie," I said, surprised by how calm it sounded. I went to my brother's place. He didn't ask questions, just handed me the couch and said, "You hungry?" For the first day, she texted nonstop. Anger, then, "Let's talk." Then, "Nothing serious happened." Then, "You drove me to this with your control." I started replying a few times, then deleted the messages. I realized that if I engaged, I'd end up guilty again, justifying myself. 2 days later, she called. I picked up. "Are you seriously going to stay silent?" "I'm thinking," I said. "You're punishing me. I'm saving myself." Heavy breathing on the line. Then she said, "I didn't want it to turn out like this." For the first time, it sounded like something about her, not me. But then she added, "You just never listened to me." And we were back in the loop. On the fifth day, she texted, "I'll stay at my mom's. I need space." I read it and realized something simple. The pause had already decided more than our endless explanations. She didn't offer honesty. She offered distance, so she wouldn't have to look at it. A week later, we met at a cafe to discuss practical things. Mortgage, bills, what happens next. We sat like co-workers discussing a project. I said, I won't come back without honesty. She nodded. I don't want to share details. Then there's nothing to build, I said. Trust is gone. We agreed on a month apart. Only practical communication. No, let's start fresh talks. I took some things and left the keys with her. The first 2 weeks felt like autopilot. Work, my brother, occasional trips for clothes. When I came to the apartment, it looked curated, like a showroom. She tried to be correct, left groceries for me, sent neutral messages. But every time I saw her, I caught myself scanning her face. Is she telling the truth now? Once she tried to talk nicely, we stood by the elevator. I miss you, she said. I miss you too, I answered. It was true. Then come back. I can't go back to half-truths, I said. She snapped. Do you want a minute-by-minute report? I want you to stop making me feel stupid. The month ended, and she invited me over to talk. I came, and the apartment felt shujaya. New candles on the shelf, a different shower gel in the bathroom, a new mug in the kitchen I hadn't bought. Small things, but your brain notices. She said, I want everything to be like before. Before was a lie, I said. Then how? Honestly, I said, and calmly. She looked at me for a long time and finally said, I can't promise you'll know everything. That was her answer. I said it simply, walking away without screaming. I took the rest of my things, didn't slam the door, and left. We started the divorce without a show. Lawyer, paperwork, discussions about shares, apartment valuation. In those papers, there was no room for, why are you like this? Or, why don't you trust me? Just numbers and signatures. And strangely, it was easier than our kitchen conversations because there was no game. I don't know if there was one person or several. I don't know when exactly it crossed the line, but I know where the line was for me, where I was turned into a fool and asked to trust blindly while hidden windows opened in her life and therapy became a prop. Now I live in a rented studio while we sort out the apartment. One chair and a kettle that whistles too loudly. Sometimes I think, if I hadn't checked the logs, I'd still be trying, dragging us to therapy, buying chips, convincing myself everything was fine. Maybe we'd have lasted another year, but I'd be paying for it every day with myself. I still hear her, why can't you just trust me? In my head. And I know trust can't be demanded when you're hiding gaps in your schedule. I chose the pause, and the pause showed me more than any conversation ever did. What would you have done?